Neighborhood. This is the place where you're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
Well, today I'm going to be Mr. Movie Critic. Apparently, I was going to talk about this movie, Sound of Freedom, and boy, I got the messages for it, and I'll be discussing that, and also just movies in general. I mean, I am not a movie expert. I am not somebody that goes to the latest showing of every big screen thing, but apparently, there's about 3 movies that have come out that have really gotten everybody excited. Sound of Freedom, which is primarily what I'm gonna talk about, and this Barbenheimer thing, Barbie and Oppenheimer. We'll talk about that a little bit, I suppose, but, it really these movies, particularly Barbie and particularly, um, uh what's Oppenheimer. I'm sorry, I got distracted just a second here. I get distracted pretty easily these days. I walk into a kitchen and I stand there for about 2 minutes. What was I here for? I forgot. Or I'll open the refrigerator door and let the cool air out, trying to figure out what's going on. Taylor, I'm sure you're beyond that. You don't do that, do you?
Not at all.
Not at all. Wait till you get to be 61 like me. It's like, holy moly,
Oh, goodness.
I know it's a beating because you go in there and you just stand there. I walk into the bedroom or something, and it's like, "Why am I here? I don't understand this." Anyway, I'm just checking out all the various postings, make sure we got all the various groups. I'm missing one right now. No, I got it. Okay, good. Let's do this thing. All right, today we're just going to talk about movies. But Taylor, told me before the show you saw Oppenheimer, right?
Yes, I did.
What did you think about it?
It was awesome.
I
Minus
heard
the
it's
fact that it was long and
yeah,
I saw it late at night.
yeah.
So I was tired.
I've
It
heard a
was a
lot.
great movie.
People said that they probably could have been a little bit shorter, but that's okay. Um, it also goes past just the dropping of the bombs, correct? It goes on to
Correct.
what happened to him afterwards,
Uh-huh.
and how he was accused of being a communist and all this other business. And it's an interesting story. I may end up going and seeing that. There's a couple movies I want to go see at the theater, maybe, and that's one of them. But as far as theaters, the last time I went to a theater was somewhat recently. Back in February, I saw Jesus Revolution at the theater, and outside of a documentary that was shown about World War One in 2017 at the local theater, I bet it's been 15 years since I went to see a Hollywood movie. At the theater, I just don't go very often. I can wait until it comes out on either pay-per-view or Amazon Prime or, some other outlet like that. I don't wait till it comes out on broadcast television because I can't stand watching movies on broadcast TV like TNT and TBS and all that because there's just so many commercials. It just totally disrupts the flow of the movie. But as far as me going to the show, I just don't go to it that often, because of the expense maybe, or just claustrophobia, maybe because, you watch it on pay-per-view, you could stop it if you wanna go get a snack or go to the men's room or something like that, and, uh, I don't know. But anyway, what'd you think of Oppenheimer? You said it
Yeah, I
was it
enjoyed it.
pretty realistic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was shot really well.
Yeah, and I hear all sorts of great things about it and how well it's done. How about that Barbie movie? You gonna be jumping on that?
Oh, who knows?
I know if what I'm doing, I'm not going to see Barbie, and it has nothing to do with
You're
the
not gonna go
look.
see
Heck no.
Woke Barbie?
No, that's the point I'm making. It has nothing to do with supposedly the woke message that it portrays. I don't.
Who
I did
knows?
read about the criticism about that too, but I don't. I'm too old to go watch a movie about a doll, and that's what it is. It's a toy, and I think in Hollywood it must be running out of ideas because they have make movies out of Legos, they make movies out of Transformers, GI Joe,
Hey,
video
let's not hate on
games.
the Lego movies.
Well, I hear they're very clever and all this other stuff, but I feel like sometimes that Hollywood is just plumb run out of ideas, and now they're making movies based on toys, and they're making movies based on old TV shows or doing remakes. But as far as the criticism for Barbie, I hear there's a lot of criticism on the right about the message it's putting out there. Well, all I could say about that is, what do you expect from a Hollywood movie? Um, if people take their social and moral standard cues, if you will, based on movies, they're going to get what they get. I mean, Hollywood's not going to make a lot of movies that conform to conservative moral standards. Now, there have been more of them lately that have been marketed towards, um, say, the more conservative, maybe the more Christian or faith-based audience, like Jesus Revolution, and there are other movies like that have come out, and that's great. Robin's seen them with, and not at the studio again, but or the theater rather, at the when they come on TV, pay-per-view and whatnot. And so there are movies that are being made for that audience, and that's great. And if you want to go see them, fine. If it's not for you, then fine. Same thing with this Barbie movie. I'm not going to go see it because I don't want to see a movie about a doll, about a toy, and all that pink would drive me nuts. But as far as the message of it, I don't take my moral cues or my intellectual cues, whatever, from what some Hollywood producer says. Now, how about that Sound of Freedom? Have you seen it yet?
I have not.
Do you plan on it?
I would love to see it.
Okay. I I had kind of put that again on the pay-per-view list. Um, but what happened yesterday was that we were hang on, I'm gonna get my water here. We were in my Sunday school class at church, and several people by that time had seen the movie, and they started talking about it before we dive into the lesson and all that. And they were very moved by it. They said it was hard to watch because it was such intense content, and you're talking about just a dreadful subject, the human trafficking of children. Well, yeah, and they mentioned also in this Sunday school class some of the controversies about it, about the actor and the producer and their connections with QAnon, apparently, or at least they're accepting the promotion of QAnon and not denouncing them and things of that nature. But they really talked more about the content and just how hard it was to watch what was going on. So before we jump into all that, I'd like to talk, go ahead, go through the sponsors and whatnot. But then we're going to talk about what about this movie that has gotten so many people upset on both sides of the aisle. Okay, well, thank you, CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. Check out their website at crossfitburleson.com, and you can check out their plans. They have the membership plans, the class schedules, things of that nature, what they offer. And the two ladies that now own it are going to expand a lot of the offerings over the next couple of months. So check that out. Also, Shandy Stogsdill Group. I know she had an open house yesterday. I hope it went well. The Stogsdill Group is where you need to go to if you're looking to move in and around this area, because the market is just, it's in flux, and the rates are in flux, and you need to be able to have somebody help you navigate through that. So thank you, Shandy Stogsdill. Also, Our Place. I was there twice in one day last Thursday. I was there for breakfast and lunch. I might as well get a cot out back, and as often as I've been there lately. But Our Place, the food is great, the service is great, the atmosphere is great, and it's well worth your time to go to Our Place and do business or just to relax. Thank you to Chris over at Wild, another place to go and relax. On Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, they have happy hours, and they have drink specials on the other days as well. It's a great place to get a decent drink, a decent smoke. Now, if you don't smoke cigars yourself, it's still a great place to go and get gift cards for those who do smoke, and there's a great selection for them. So you go get them a gift card. It'll be a great gift for the cigar smoker in your life, because there's such a great choice there. Also, thank you to Tiffany at Local Life Magazine. It'll be coming out next week. She works a lot of hours getting that thing together. I've been little sponsor care, as they call it. I've been in her office while she kind of shows me what they do, and it's a full day. That's for sure. Local Life Magazine. Check out locallifetx.com and see what's going on in the community. Also, we have Gala. Today they're closed, but they're closed on Mondays, but they're open the other days of the week and most Saturdays, depending on what's going on. So Southern Gym is now on the bottom floor. Within a couple of weeks, I've been made an arrangement with Gala. They're going to go and video some of it, and just my cheesy phone video kind of thing, and talk about her new store and all the things she can offer now at the much larger location at the bottom floor of the Windmiller building. Thank you also to our friends over here in town, Old Pro Roofing. John Williams is our local agent, 817-734-2756, and he'll come check your roof out and and see if it needs any kind of repair or replacement, or maybe not. If he's going to tell you the truth about your roof situation. Also, thank you to our friend Melissa Harmon at Texas Farm Bureau, 682-804-0534. Likewise, she could check out your insurance, see if you're getting the best deal, the best rates, and if you are, she'll tell you. If not, she can tell you how Texas Farm Bureau can help you. And I've had several people that on the show, guests on the show, who are Texas Farm Bureau clients, and they just think they're wonderful because they're not there to put the screws to them when it's time to file a claim. Also, thank you to our friends Morris and Lisa Smith over at Stop Restoration, where they get it right the first time. They got us trained for that. So if you have some sort of environmental damage, you have some sort of water damage, fire damage, a biohazard, mold, whatever, they can handle it. They're certified mold specialists. And just because you don't think your house is in need of it, it's not a bad thing to have them come out and check for mold. And if they don't find a problem, they'll tell you. That's why I have these as sponsors, is that these people are honest people, and they won't try to just run the bill up on you. All right. Also, tomorrow we're going to have Megan and Summer from Next Step, and on Saturday they have the Christmas in July toy drive, and we're going to talk about that. And also Thursday we have Lisa Schwartz over at Crazy 8, and that's always tons of fun. She's a pretty lively person, to say the least. Okay, back to the topic, Sound of Freedom. Most of y'all probably know what the topic is. That is about child trafficking, and about how this particular agent quit his job to focus on that almost full time. To say it's a faith-based movie is, it's not a movie about the gospel, but it is owned by the same studios that produced The Chosen. Now, this movie was made 5 years ago, and it wasn't picked up by anybody, but Angel Fire Studios picked it up and put it out there. So the people that produced and made the movie aren't the same people that are putting it out there. Angel Fire has really had a major cultural impact with the Chosen series. I know, they make it here locally. I know several people that have been extras in it, but also the fact that it's just really been embraced as a message of the gospel. Sound of Freedom rather. Sound of Freedom isn't really like that, but it is controversial. And so when I put it out there yesterday, I said, friends, let me know what you think of this movie. And I got several private messages. I got some comments on the page, a couple of texts, on and on about it, and from both sides of the argument. Now, on the critical part of it, the criticism of it is, first of all, they say it's unrealistic. It's not a realistic depiction of human trafficking. That it doesn't hear from the survivors as much as it does from the protagonists. In other words, Jim Caviezel and his cast. So it's more focused on them than it is about their victims that they're helping. It's one of the criticisms. A lot of the quote experts on this topic say that they gloss over certain facts to make it a more dramatic story, or to they don't depict the realistic picture of what this is all about. That's what they say about it. Now, again, I haven't seen it, and honestly, if I did see it, I don't know if that would be true or not in my case, because I don't know enough about this topic to qualify in any way as an expert. I don't know if this depiction I'm seeing is accurate or hyperbolized, or if it's downplayed or anything. But I do think it's an important topic, and I'm going to end my discussion in a few minutes on Sound of Freedom about that. But the point is that a lot of the critics don't like it because the survivors aren't focused on. You don't hear from them in the movie hardly at all. It doesn't portray it adequately or realistically. But here's the biggest criticism of it, is that the actor Jim Caviezel and the producer, and the character he portrays, Tim Ballard, who is the producer, have ties to QAnon, apparently, or allegedly. All right. Now, we all know what QAnon is, but for those who don't, it's a very, I don't even know how to describe it well, but it is a collection of people that believe in all sorts of weird and controversial conspiracy theories, one of which grotesquely talks about how these children are being trafficked for their blood to produce adrenochrome that would the elites of our society drink this for long life and all this. That's what they say. I think it's out there, way out there. But they say that, QAnon puts this out there, and QAnon has latched itself to this movie. They didn't produce this movie. They didn't fund it. Jim Caviezel, I don't know if he's a member of QAnon or follower, but he's been criticized because he has spoken to, in the past, to QAnon type audiences. And, but what has happened is the Sound of Freedom has been basically hijacked, if you will, by QAnon, and they've been promoting this movie. But they haven't been promoting this movie, QAnon, I'm talking about, not as we need to do something about child trafficking and things like that. They're promoting this movie as examples of this paranoid view about children's blood being part of some ritual sacrifice. I find that grotesque. I find it true. I'm going to have a whole lot more evidence of that than what just QAnon yelling it out there on the social media, virtual realities or whatever. So I don't buy into that right now, and I don't know if I ever will. Like I said, I'm going to have some really legitimate evidence presented from a legitimate platform for me to think that this might even be a possibility. But that being said, QAnon is promoting this movie not because they want to end child trafficking, because it's terrible and it's evil and it's whatever, but they're promoting it as trying to promote their idea of this grotesque purpose for human trafficking. And then they latch on to the comments that Tim Ballard, the person that Caviezel's portraying, and Caviezel himself, who've made in the past and say this is a QAnon-based movie. First of all, I don't think anybody that is criticizing the movie in any way, shape, or form or downplaying the horror of child trafficking. Nobody that says this movie is not what it's purporting to be is in any way, shape, or form trying to, justify child trafficking. And I haven't seen it on my page, but I've seen it in other social media and other articles. My point is that whether or not Sound of Freedom is a legitimate addition to the discussion on this, or if it's just propaganda and it's being used improperly, the topic itself of child trafficking doesn't need to be neglected. Maybe Sound of Freedom is not the vehicle to latch on to show this particular terror that's going on in our lives. However, if you go to this movie, you're not supporting QAnon. You're not supporting some sort of bizarre thing. You're going there because A, it's an important topic. B, is because it addresses that topic from a perspective you don't get in Hollywood movies very often. A lot of times when a Hollywood movie puts things out, they neglect to understand that there's a broad range of ideology and thinking in our country, and they would portray it particularly just from one area, one viewpoint. And in many cases, they would have a message in there that is, and not insulting, that's not the word, but it's a message that would intend to imply that people are passive and they don't care about this issue enough. And then on the other hand, we have criticism on the right, so to speak. We shouldn't say that because some people find Sound of Freedom lacking in their message or lacking in its production, or they have concerns with the people who put it behind. They need to understand that a lot of these same people will never go see a Jane Fonda movie, or they never go see a Tom Cruise movie because of their connections to politics and ideologies they can't stand. So the people on the left who avoid this movie because they don't like Caviezel and they don't like QAnon, hey, I get it. Okay? I get it. I think probably this movie probably is good for igniting these kind of conversations, and I would like to have a show on this. I almost had one about 2 years ago, but the person that was involved in this organization I was talking with left the organization. So, and she didn't feel qualified, or she didn't feel like it was appropriate for her to be seen as a spokesman for a group she just left. So that fell through. But I'd still like to have it. But if you're on the left and you think this movie is too much of a piece of QAnon propaganda, okay, I get it. You know, Caviezel and Ballard have made comments that give you plenty of evidence for that. For the people on the right, I would say that you're going to have to acknowledge that some of the people that are involved with this movie have some pretty wacky ideas. But if you're looking to go to the movie because of the content, because of the message, because of the importance of the issue, I get that too. And so, um, I do have some, whataboutisms here. Personally, like I said, I watch movies, but I don't go to the theater that often. Do I base my selection of a movie based on who is acting in it? If it is, it's because I like or dislike the actor, not because I'm really concerned about his or her personal life. Okay. I loved Maverick, but I think Tom Cruise is a nut. That Scientology is every bit as wacky as QAnon. Okay. Scientology is out there. And a lot of Hollywood stars and sub-stars, B-list stars, subscribe to Scientology. That okay, get after it, fine. But Tom Cruise has been on tape saying things to Scientology groups on video. I've seen them on YouTube that we would find uh, not just offensive, but just bizarre. Yet Maverick was the biggest grossing movie last year. It's great. I saw it about 3 weeks ago on Amazon Prime. It's a great movie. I plan to see Mission Impossible when it comes out. I think it maybe already has, I don't know. But I've seen the other Mission Impossibles, and so I don't say, "Well, I'm not gonna see a Tom Cruise movie because of the Scientology," but I'm not also gonna embrace Tom Cruise or embrace Scientology because of it. But I know people that won't go see Tom Cruise because of it, and that's fine. I know people that won't go see Jane Fonda because of her anti-war activities, and that's fine. Alec Baldwin, I think, is a great actor, and I'll watch his movies, but I don't endorse his views. And I am completely aware of not only his views and mine don't jive, but also, he's been accused of various low-level assaults and crimes, and his wife has been accused of portraying somebody that she's not, and on and on and on. My point is, had Sound of Freedom been made by Matt Damon or Ben Affleck, I wonder if not that the positions would be reversed, but would it be seeing this type of criticism? Or would we be even seeing the same type of movie? And so I think the criticism on both right and left on this movie is based on other factors than just the content of the movie. They're not criticizing it or praising it as a movie on its own self. It's who is involved with it that has got people really stirred up. And if we're going to do that, well, it's going to be very, very tough. Um, Mr. Stephen Carl Jensen says, I don't understand why not seeing this movie as cancel culture and not seeing Barbie as a choice of where to spend money. Well, that's a good point. I'm not seeing Barbie, not because of the content, because I don't want to see it, and the same thing. It's as far as cancel culture, I think a lot of people misunderstand what that is. Cancel culture is the prevention, in my opinion, the prevention of being out there, being available for us to make a choice on. It's not so much that even if I wanted to come on here and say, I will not see Barbie because of this, that, and the other, I'm not canceling it. I'm just not going to go spend my money on it. Canceling would be if I had it anyway, the power to keep it from being shown, which I would not. I don't. I'm not going to get into that. Personally, if I had the authority to tell my vast listening audience, stay away from Barbie, I think it'd be ridiculous. You're grown people. Go see it if you want to. Don't go see it if you don't want to. You think it's a piece of crap, a political and woke piece of trash? Don't go. If you think it's a wonderful, cute movie, go. Spend your money. It's who cares? And that's the kind of I do is Sound of Freedom. Is that uh, it's not cancel culture to boycott it personally. It is cancel culture if you or some group have the ability to prevent it from letting me see it if I want to or not. If you're trying to keep me from seeing it by keeping it from going to the theaters, that's not cool. That's not right. That's cancel culture. But for people to say, I'm not going to see it because I don't like Caviezel's politics or I don't like this guy's QAnon attachments, hey, I get it. But I just also would point out that I do think that this topic is so important that I think that the comments by the actors and the producers of this film may be secondary to the content and the message of the film. You know, if you had like this serious anti-war movie like Jane Fonda has made several of, I may not go see because I don't like Jane Fonda. I didn't like her as an actress, but I'm still a little old enough to remember some of the stuff she did in the 70s about Vietnam. So I might probably want to go see it. But it doesn't mean the message of the movie she's making is immaterial, unimportant, or trash. There's other movies that could say the same thing, and then that I will maybe be more likely to see. Um, and so to kind of round this out a bit about Tom Cruise and about Jane Fonda and about Jim Caviezel, if you are, oh, Mr. Stephen Carl Jansen says Grace and Frankie was hysterical. Well, okay. But that's another thing. I'm not a big binge TV watcher. See, for me to comment on movies and TV is kind of like somebody who doesn't watch a lot of baseball commenting about that. Okay, what I get about movies and TV, I get kind of from the various news and websites and whatever else and discussions about them as much as actually seeing. The last thing I binge watched was just recently. I binge watched this Apple TV show called Silo because I really like Rebecca Ferguson for one thing, and also it was pretty good. Also, I binge watched Ted Lasso and that was really, really good. And here you look at Ted Lasso; they had several messages in it that I would not personally adopt, but I didn't say that's going to keep me from enjoying this show. I mean, in the Ted Lasso, they had several characters or situations that it's not me, but um, I loved it. I thought it was great. My ability to evaluate the film is not going to be, in most cases, dependent on it connecting with me at every point of my belief and political ideologies. Okay. Um, but anyway, to round off the Sound of Freedom here, the topic it portrays should be the main topic of conversation, not the flawed messengers. Okay. If you want to criticize the movie, if you want to say it doesn't portray it accurately or properly or appropriately, great. That's a conversation. If you want to say that it's a profound movie that moves the ball forward on trying to get people aware about just how terrible this is and that it has made an impact upon you like it did my friends yesterday in a way that made them or think about something that they may not think about very often, if at all. That's great too. The movie served its purpose. So I guess to sum that up is that yeah, on the left I get it, but let's not take our eyes off the ball. Child trafficking is horrendous. It is one of the most grotesque crimes that we can imagine. And if Sound of Freedom, flawed as it is, amps up the discussion and the visibility of this issue, then it served its purpose. Sometimes the messengers may be flawed. In most cases, the messengers are flawed. Nobody is perfect, of course, and so and we could pick, take points, if actors that we know to be extremely liberal make a great movie that portray a situation that needs to be addressed. That's the issue of the movie, not the fact that the actor may be a bit weird in their religious or political beliefs, or they may be, not nice people in real life. It's the message that's the important thing, and that's what we should focus on. Don't cancel the movie because you don't like Jim Caviezel. If you don't like Jim Caviezel, don't go. But the movie needs to be out there. It needs to be seen. And as far as the Barbie movie, what I understand from the criticisms that it shows, it's a woke version of Barbie, and they show gender issues that are pretty progressive, and that they have like a transgender character, I believe, or an actor in it rather, and all this other business. I don't care. I'm not seeing it anyway. So, if you go to Barbie, have a good time, and there you go. I think if we had more of that attitude about just quit focusing on the what you object to in art and literature and music and in movies, and just if you don't want to partake in it, don't partake in it. You'd be better off personally, and we would be as a country. And if you're worried about the schools and the children and all this other business, that's a whole nother discussion right there. But My bet is a typical teenager that's going to see Barbie is going to come away from it either having their beliefs confirmed or not, and that's it. And they're not going to be changed. In other words, watching Barbie is not going to make somebody change their belief systems just like that. For most people, it's just a piece of entertainment, and that's it. Anyway, I hope I addressed it. Thank you, Stephen, for helping me with the conversation here. I hope I did it adequate justice. It's a hard topic because, um, you're talking about people's beliefs and their lives and whatever else. And so many of us on the right and the left, and those of us who like to think of themselves in the center or center right, like myself, really are getting fed up with all these people raising hell about what I watch or what I read. So, briefly, I wanted to ask. So, this is a totally thing. I was going to ask about, um, or discuss rather, no labels. I mean, that was the second part of it, and really, I thought the part about Sound of Freedom was going to be a fairly brief little interlude, and then I was going to talk about what happened last week at No Labels because my last solo show was roughly about the primaries, and I was just going to give like an update. But I'll give the update now. The No Labels group last Tuesday came out with, or no, actually it was last Monday. Get it right. A week ago, came out in New Hampshire with like their coming out party, so to speak. After just talked about all that, anyway. But no, they were their promotion at New Hampshire. And it was interesting, the criticism on the left and the right for that as well. No Labels, if you're not familiar, has been going around the country trying to get on the ballots of the various 50 states, and they will decide in April whether or not they're going to try to put names on those ballots. They don't have to have a name to get on the ballot. All you need is to get on the ballot in many states is to go through the process. In Texas, it's very difficult, but it's a 50 state thing. It's not like you just declare yourself and you're all on all 50 ballots. You have to do it state by state. And a lot of these third parties end up not running in all 50 states. Now, some of the third parties that are more established, like the Libertarians and the Greens, typically don't have a lot of trouble getting on the ballots. That if you're, some smaller party, it'd be very, very difficult in Texas. But that being said, No Labels comes out, and they had Joe Manchin and John Huntsman. Now, Manchin, you're probably familiar with. John Huntsman used to be the governor of Utah. He ran in the 2012 Republican primary, and he was Obama's ambassador to Russia and China. And he's considered to be a moderate Republican. Okay. And so the whole point of No Labels is they want to have a moderate option between what they fear is going to be Biden and Trump, which is a very substantial fear. I mentioned that last week. I read some articles about how people are just seeing like we're hurtling towards Armageddon, and it's going to be Biden and Trump, and it just doesn't seem to be anything we can do about it. Well, this third party option would be a moderate Democrat probably is in the lead and a moderate Republican as vice president, or it could be reversed. It just depends. And if it comes down to their calculation that we got a Biden-Trump election, they will meet in Dallas in mid-April, and they will select nominees in the old-fashioned way in a convention, and they will get on the ballots. And will they get on the debate stage and whatever else? I'm sure that both parties will do everything they can to keep them off. But it's reminiscent for a lot of us older guys about Ross Perot back in the early 90s with the Reform Party. He did get on the ballots in all the states, and he got 19% of the vote. It was very substantial impact. A lot of people still say that's why Bill Clinton won in 92, and I agree to that for the most part. But the criticism to me was interesting. I'll start with the criticism from the right. They were criticizing the No Labels Party for its lack of specificity and content on its platform. The National View did an article, and they basically said it's just full of platitudes and hot air and nothing really specific. And they also noticed a lot of criticism was that even when the two gentlemen, Huntsman and Manchin, were on stage and going through this question and answer session, the two disagreed amongst themselves about gun control, about climate change, about these other things. And so the party itself is like, we're not running under a specific platform. We're running to prevent or give people a third choice and that kind of thing. And they talked, so even within the No Labels Party, within the platform, they had people that contradicted what they were talking about. Not everybody in No Labels is on the same page in terms of the platform and how it's going to be followed and all this other stuff. Now, it's interesting. There's a big interview in Atlantic with Joe Lieberman, the ex-senator from Connecticut, who ran with Al Gore, and then was interested in 2006. He did not get nominated by the Democrats in Connecticut, but he ran as an independent and won. And so he spent his last term as an independent. He is one of the co-chairs of this party, and he and the former president of the NAACP, Benjamin Chavis, is another one. So you're talking about a pretty diverse group of leadership, of co-chairs and whatnot. The couple of Republicans are inside players, so to speak, but they're well known to junkies. They like us that read this stuff. But the point I'm making about No Labels is the Republicans are critical of it because they said it doesn't have a very substantial platform, and they can't agree on things, and and they're too vague about their plans and whatever else. What interested me about the Democrat criticism, it really wasn't anything about them. It's about the impact it would have on the election and the probability, as they see it, that Joe Biden would not get reelected and Trump would because of their presence, similar to what Ralph Nader did in 2000 rather. So the Republicans are criticizing No Labels on substance. The Democrats are criticizing labels because of impact. They think that if they run, they'll take enough votes away from Joe Biden that Donald Trump will win. And they trotted out in their criticism last week all these polls that show in the battleground states just how much impact Joe Manchin or a third-party option, even if that was left generic or blank, would have, and that it would sway those electoral votes in about 6 states towards Mr. Trump. And so they're criticizing No Labels not because of what they're running on, but that they're running at all. And one of the more hysterical commentators I read is talking about how No Labels is a threat to democracy. And I'm thinking, okay, lead me through that thought process, please. Having a third-party option and choosing that over the 2 major parties is a threat to democracy. Me making an independent choice as a free American to choose somebody other than what's offered to me by the 2 major parties is somehow undemocratic. That was one of the more ludicrous statements I read about that. It is highly democratic to choose the third party in the sense that you're making a free choice of on your own. Mr. Jansen says we should be able to do better than Trump or Biden. Absolutely. The last 3 elections it's not just they're putting terrible candidates up there, but surely both parties, this country as a whole, can put out better people than this. It isn't just their policies stink. These are not good people. Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump are not good people. I don't care all the Uncle Joe you want to talk about. He's not a decent man. Donald Trump speaks for itself. Hillary Clinton is not a decent person. Okay? They're corrupt, power-hungry people with a lack of a moral core at all. I wouldn't say that about 2012. I don't like Mr. Obama that much, but I don't think he lacks a moral core. I pretty well liked Romney, but I think he has a moral core. I think both of them do. And I could make my choice in that election based on whether I like their policies or not, whether or not I think either one of these guys are, corrupt. The last 3 major elections, the 2 major parties have served up trash to us and said, you'll like this. This is what you're getting. The nominating processes in both parties are so skewed that it really is not a majority exercise at all. A small, slim majority in both parties will be nominating these 2 men. There'll be a combined age on election day. It's going to be 178. Okay. If Manchin gets into it, he'll be the kid in this election at 76. And so I like No Labels just for the fact it's going to shake up the status quo, and it may make it so that these parties may want to reconsider whom they nominate. I doubt it will, because Donald Trump in particular, more than anybody else, is such a polarizing character that you're either for him or you hate him, to the point that that's going to direct your vote above any other consideration. You're either going to vote for Trump. I don't care what he does. I don't care how many times he's indicted. I don't care if he's in jail. I will vote for Donald Trump. Or I am voting for Joe Biden. I don't care how much money he's grifted off this government. I don't care what his son has done. I don't care how bad his policy's been. I'm going to vote for Joe Biden because he's not Donald Trump. What a hell of a choice we're making as a country. We could do better than this. I mentioned last week I'm right now preferring Tim Scott. I wish I had somebody I could say that for the Democrat side, but Biden essentially is the only nominee. I think Robert Kennedy and Marianne Williamson are stunt candidates, and they'll be out by May or something like that. But the point is that we should do better than this. We have to do better than this. The last time I think this country's had such poor presidential leadership on an extended period was the 1850s. And I'm not being hyperbolic about that at all. The level of between Biden and Trump is just a matter of degree, and that's about it. So anyway, that's why I, in this particular section or portion of the show with an urging like I did last week, please consider alternatives. Please consider alternatives. Check out what they have to say. Think about what kind of people they are. Think about what impact it'll have on this country, and consider the alternatives. And I mean that to my Republican friends, and I mean that to my Democrat friends, and I mean that to my independent friends. And even if you're not my friend, I'm still talking to you. Anyway, back, I guess just go ahead and wrap this up again about the movies. Go see them. Don't go see them. But remember what Sound of Freedom is. The topic is the issue. The topic is the important thing. And even if you don't go see this movie, I understand it doesn't mean the topic is unimportant to you. I got it. But it needs to be out there. It's just like the Barbie movie should be out there as well. Whether I see it or not, or like it or not, is immaterial. Tomorrow, like I said, I'll have Megan and Summer on for Next Step, and they're going to have their Christmas or July this coming Saturday. And they always got it's always a great show with them. They're wonderful women, and they do such good work. And same with Lisa Schwartz at Crazy 8. We'll be talking to them next week. Right now I have a couple of open dates, but I know on Monday I'm talking to Java John, who opened up his new coffee shop over in.
Oh yeah.
Have you had any other coffee over there?
Yeah, he better bring us some.
I'll see him. If I don't go to HEB every couple of days, they call to see if I'm okay.
Thanks.
But I know it's that we don't buy groceries in bulk because I don't like throwing things out. So I'll be more inconvenienced to buy them in smaller pickups than I would. But I'll go, and every time I go and buy Java John at HEB, there's always most of the tables are full, and there's always somebody getting served at the counter. So they're doing pretty well. So I hope that does well for him. Of course, John Long, Java John himself, also works for Harvest House as a general manager. And on that note, Jennifer, we hope you're doing well. We know you've had that death in the family. We'll see you next month. She's been having to deal with all of that and the fallout from funerals, et cetera, et cetera. And so I hope, Jennifer, you got our prayers and blessings. I hope you're doing better. And we'll see you when we see you. Anyway, I'll see you at the studio tomorrow. Thank you, Taylor, for your input.
Yes, sir.
And with the output, thank you, Stephen Carl Jansen, for your comments, and you're helping me kind of bounce back and forth with you. I appreciate your help. And we'll see y'all tomorrow.